بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Jazakumullah khair for joining us once again in another session on the Quran in the month of Ramadan. We are going over the book At-Tibyanu fi Adabi Hamlat al-Quran, written by the great Imam al-Nawawi alayhi rahmatullah, and we have reached the chapter Faslun fil i'radi and a'radi dunya, which means this chapter is referring to turning away from the glitter and the glory of this worldly life. So it's very important for us then to kind of understand what the author means over here, and especially in the context of those who are either learning the Quran or teaching the Quran. So the author, he says, وَيَنْبَغِي أَلَّا يَقْصِدَ بِهِ تَوَصُّلًا إِلَىٰ عَرَضٍ مِنْ أَعْرَاضِ الدُّنْيَا مِنْ مَالٍ. So the author, he says, it's incumbent then. So anybody who wants to engage in the Quran, who wants to learn the Quran, or wants to memorize Quran or learn Quran, or whatever the case may be, or teach Quran even, that their intention, Allah yaqsid, that they do not intend, bihi, by doing this, by in relation to the Quran, tawassulan ila arad min a'rad dunya, that they make a means for themselves, or they use it as an opportunity to gain something from this worldly life, min malin, whether that's money, or riyasatin, or whether that's position. Sometimes we might put ourselves in a situation, or we might intend, by how much we know of Quran, or by how much we know of the hadith, or whatever the case may be, or any of the religious sciences, we might intend therewith a means to make money. So there might be a financial incentive. That's how some people might view it. Or riyasatin, or leadership position, or a position of leadership. Very easy to find a position of leadership, especially if you kind of know how to navigate yourself when it comes to how to go about the Quran. Or jahatin, or a position, okay, reputation with people. So wajaha is when you have reputation. Or irtifa'in ala aqranihi, or you want to be the one on top of everybody else. So you want everybody else to be lower than you, and you want to be the one on top. Or thana'in inda nas, or you want it to be as a means of incurring praise from people. Or sarfi wujuhi nasi ilayh, or you wish for it to be a situation in which you gain people's attention. So people's faces are all turned towards you and giving you all their undivided attention. So these are the reasons as to why the people might do certain things which goes far away from sincerity, or the principle of sincerity. So it might be something to do with money. Through this I can make a lot of money, or through this riyasatan I have a position, I can gain leadership, or wajahatin, or I can have a good reputation, people will think well of me, or irtifa'in ala aqranihi, or this is my means to be able to show my superiority over everybody else. Or thana'in inda nas, or this is a means of incurring praise, people showering with us with praises because of this. Or sarfi wujuhi nasi ilayh, or because we want to divert people's attention towards us. Or nahwi dhalik, the author says, or anything similar to this. So a person, he's saying these are things that a person should never be very, very careful of, these being the true motives, or this being the true motive of why they're doing what they're doing. And it's very easy that people can fall into this. So we need to be extra careful of making sure that this doesn't happen. And this is not the case. And it's a struggle, because there are those times when we mentioned the inclination of the soul can get the better of somebody. And sometimes a person's innate desire can get in the way of someone. Or sometimes a person's, something that comes from this worldly life. Okay, meaning a wealth. You can make money, or you can be in a big position, or you deserve, and you'll get a great reputation. People will hear about you. Your name will be known to everybody. Or you'll be the most superior person. Or you'll be the one who everybody talks about. These are the kind of things that a person should never ever have as a motive. That's what the author is saying. When it comes to the Quran, and this can even go for everything else. And then Imam Nawawi, he says, وَلَا يَشِينُ الْمُقْرِئُ إِقْرَاءَهُ بِطَمَعٍ فِي رِفْقٍ يَحْصُلُ لَهُ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَنْ يَقْرَأُ عَلَيْهِ. Now he's speaking about something really specific. So he's speaking about those people who teach Quran. So he's saying, and a person who is a muqri', meaning somebody who's an expert reciter of Quran, who teaches Quran, they should never use that position to desire something that is in the possession of some of those students that he may or she may have that recite for them. So simply because you're in a position of being a teacher, just because you may look at somebody and you understand that this person, who's reciting Quran to me, they have something that I really desire. Maybe by allowing myself to allow this person to recite Quran to me, and by giving them extra preferential treatment, I may get something from them also. That's something that's sometimes really, really, really very, we don't really recognize it. It's very subtle. So it's something that a person should be very wary of. The author says, سَوَاءٌ كَانَ الرِّفْقُ مَالًا, whether that desire or whether that thing that they possess of desire, malan is wealth, or khidmatun, or type of service, وَإِنْ قَالْ, even if it's small, do this for me. You give them an extra level of professional treatment, or you allow them to recite Quran simply because of the fact that you desire they have something, you want them to do something for you, they can do something for you. That shouldn't be the intention. Though then he says, وَلَوْ عَلَى صُورَةِ الْهَدِيَّةِ الَّتِي لَوْلَا قِرَاءَتُهُ عَلَيْهِ لَمَا أَهْدَهَا إِلَيْهِ. Even if it's in the circumstance of a gift that's given to this person, and had it not been for the fact that this person is a teacher and they are listening and they are allowing this student to recite to them, had it not been for that fact, they wouldn't have been given that gift, even if it's something as subtle as that. And then he quotes, Nawawi quotes the verse in Quran, and he says, قال الله تعالى, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, وَمَنْ كَانَ يُرِيدُ حَرْثَ الدُّنْيَا نُؤْتِهِ مِنْهَا وَمَا لَهُ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنْ نَصِيبٍ. And whomsoever wishes from harth ad-dunya, they wish for some of the harvest that this worldly life produces, نُؤْتِهِ مِنْهَا, will give this person some of it. So you gain something from the ultimate or the intended desire. A person may gain something from it. But if they gain something from it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues, وَمَا لَهُ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِن نَصِيبٍ. But in the afterlife, they have no portion. So there's no portion for this person in the afterlife. Why? Because everything that they did was in order to exact a tribute in this worldly life, whether it was money or a service or whatever the case may be. And they got what they desired. وَمَنْ كَانَ يُرِيدُ حَرْثَ الدُّنْيَا نُؤْتِهِ مِنْهَا. And the person who desires that which the produce of this worldly life, نُؤْتِهِ مِنْهَا, we will give them some of it. But وَمَا لَهُ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِن نَصِيبٍ. But they have no portion from the afterlife. وقال تعالى, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, so it's quoting another verse from the Quran, من كان يريد له عجلنا له فيها ما نشاء لمن نريد. Whosoever yuridu, who desires and wants, al-ajila is anything that originates from this worldly life, and it has nothing to with and there's no intention, no sincerity in it therein. There's no sincerity involved in it. So it could be money or anything else. If that's what their primary desire is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we will give them what they want. We will rush to give them what they desire. Ma nasha, that which we desire. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even He desires what they gain from it. So even the people who want from this worldly life, and everything that they do is from this worldly life, they will receive something. The amount, the quantity is ma nasha, is all which from is the amount that Allah desires. And even then Allah says, liman nurid, to those amongst them who we want to give it to. So there might be people who don't gain anything from being insincere. Imagine, there might be people who gain absolutely nothing from their insincerity. And that's really a shame, because they don't get anything from this worldly life, and they might not get any, and they will not get anything from the afterlife. So it's a serious issue and a serious problem. So then if that's the case, we need to be extra vigilant, extra careful when it comes to the issue of sincerity. It's not something which is a minor. It's not something which is insignificant. It's not something which is trivial. It's something which is very, very, very serious. And it ties down to a person, and it relates directly to a person's experiences in the afterlife. If a person is not sincere, it will put them in peril in the day of judgment. So we need to be extra vigilant and extra careful. Then the author, he quotes a hadith which is narrated by Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu. So he says, وعن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. He mentions that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, وَمَنْ تَعَلَّمَ عِلْمًا مِمَّا يُبْتَغَى بِهِ وَجْهُ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى. Anybody who learns a piece of knowledge, that which should be intended, meaning this knowledge which is often and usually intended therewith the countenance of Allah, Allah's pleasure. لَا يَتَعَلَّمُهُ إِلَّا لِيُصِيبَ بِهِ عَرَضًا مِنَ الدُّنْيَا. This person doesn't learn it, or they don't teach it. So من تعلم لا يتعلمه إلا ليصيب به عرضا من الدنيا. They don't learn this knowledge or even teach this knowledge except to receive a portion of this worldly life, that which this worldly life has to offer. لم يجد عرف الجنة يوم القيامة. This person will not even find the scent of the paradise. They will not even experience the smell and the scent of the paradise in the hereafter. And this hadith was narrated by Abu Dawood with an authentic chain. So the hadith is an authentic chain. This hadith is an authentic hadith. And there are many similar hadith that mention something similar to this also. So the Prophet ﷺ, he's saying here that anybody who learns a piece of knowledge, but their intention isn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they don't learn it, and the only reason why they're learning it is because they want to gain something from this worldly life, on Yawm al-Qiyamah, they will not even experience the scent of the paradise. لَمْ يَجِدْ عَرْفَ الْجَنَّةِ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. They will not even receive, or they will not even experience the fragrance of the paradise on the day of judgment. So meaning that this is something very, very serious. It's a very, very serious issue. A person must make sure that they're very sincere in what they do, an attempt to be as sincere as possible. Because being sincere itself isn't easy. Sincerity is always difficult, and it's always a journey, and it takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of hard work, and it takes a lot of trial and error. It can be a lifetime for many. But so long as a person's attempting, so long as a person is trying, if you are trying, that's a sign of sincerity in of itself. So that's the point. If you are trying, if you do recognize, if we recognize and acknowledge that we don't want to be like this, we don't want to have these feelings in which we want other people to look at us and we're happy because of what we're doing and what people to have a good opinion of us. If we're not happy with that, and we do want to make that or affect a change in our lives, that in itself is a good sign. So even having just that desire alone is a really good sign. And that's something that we should all try and attempt. It's never easy. Like I said, it's always a journey, but it's something that is worth the struggle. So it's always going to be worth the struggle, and a person should always try and attempt to make that effort. Because sometimes you may be, that effort alone may outweigh all of the mistakes, might weigh all of the instances of insincerity. It may outweigh all of the sins and mistakes that we've made. So let's not trivialize the effort, the aspect of putting in an effort. Just that alone may sometimes trump and even beat all of many good deeds that we've done in our lifetimes. Imam Nawawi, he quotes another hadith, and this hadith was narrated by two companions. It was narrated, by three companions. It was narrated by Anas bin Malik, it was narrated by Hudayfa, and it was narrated by Ka'b bin Malik. So this hadith, he says, وَعَنْ أَنَسٍ, on the authority of Anas, وَحُذَيْفَةَ, and Ka'b bin Malik, radiyallahu anhum, may Allah be pleased with all of them. أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال, says that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said, من طلب العلم ليماري به السفهاء, whosoever engages in seeking knowledge in order ليماري به السفهاء, in order to engage in dispute and debate and argumentation with the foolish people. Okay, so bear that in mind. And you don't need to go far sometimes. You just need to look at YouTube and Twitter. Man talab al-ilma, whosoever seeks knowledge, liyumariya bihi sufaha, in order therewith to be a disputant or to be in a state of argumentation and debate with the fools and the foolish ones. Aw yukathira bihi al-ulama, or in order just to make up the numbers of the scholars, so that a person wants to be amongst their ranks. So they have no other desire except to have the title, or to dispute somebody who already carries the title. You know, people from the establishment. أو يصرف به وجوه الناس إليه, or therewith they intend that people's attention is fixated upon them. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, if that's the case, فَلْيَتَبَوَّأْ مَقْعَدَهُ مِنَ النَّارِ, let them prepare their dwelling in the hellfire. And this hadith is collected by Imam al-Tirmidhi min riwayat Ka'b ibn Malik, from the riwayah and the variation of Ka'b ibn Malik. وقال, and he said, أدخله الله النار, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will enter this person into the hellfire. So this is mentioned in the Sunan of Imam al-Tirmidhi. Also it's mentioned by many of the other scholars like At-Tabarani. He mentions it in his Al-Awsat, and Anas bin Malik radiyallahu anhu. Also Ibn Majah, Al-Khatib al-Baghdadi also mentioned this hadith, and Hudayfa ibn al-Yaman radiyallahu anil jami', may Allah be pleased with all of them. So, I mean, is this not the reason why many people learn knowledge, or many people want to have access to knowledge? Is it not only because people just want to argue nowadays? People just want to have debates nowadays. People just want to dispute nowadays. People just want to make sure that I'm on top and everybody else is beneath me. Is it that not what people really, many people, unfortunately, desire the knowledge? I mean, you find people who actually very far away from the religion, in terms of people who don't embody the characteristics of the religion, or very far away from it, yet speaking about issues to do with Quran, issues to do with Hadith, and these kind of things, in order to debate and argue and all of these kind of things. So it's kind of really very sad. من طلب العلم ليماري به السفهاء, anybody who seeks knowledge because they want to argue with people. أو يكاثر به العلماء, or in order to dispute there with the people who are scholarly, or to increase them in their number, or to join the ranks. أو يصرف به وجوه الناس إليه, or because they want people's attention to be fixated on them, فليتبوأ مقعده من النار. In that case, let them establish their place in the hellfire. Imam al-Nawawi, he said, رواه الترمذي, Imam al-Tirmidhi rated this hadith from the riwayah of Ka'b ibn Malik. So it's something which is وَقَالَ أَدْخَلَهُ اللَّهُ النَّارِ, meaning Allah will then cause this person to enter into the hellfire. So it's really not worth the journey isn't worth it. If a person wants to seek knowledge because they want to do any of this which is mentioned over here, then a person should avoid it at all costs. It's better sometimes for a person to be in a state of ignorance, and sometimes ignorance can be bliss. If a person does not know how to handle, and if a person isn't given the correct way of learning, because alongside learning there needs to be a process of managing and regulating the inclination of the soul. When Islamic spirituality becomes something which is irrelevant, then it's not really very surprising anymore to kind of see people who kind of go very much immerse themselves into the dunya or into this worldly life. So something which is very, very prevalent, and it's something which exists, and it's something that really should be avoided. And ultimately, all success comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The author then he goes into another section of the book, في محظورات نية التعليم. And he's talking about here in this section some of the things that should be avoided when it comes to, or intentions relating to at-ta'lim, or teaching or educating, meaning the Quran or teaching the Quran. And some of the things that he mentions over here is really quite interesting, because it really relates a lot of what we just mentioned. So he says, وَلْيَحْذَرْ كُلَّ الْحَذَرِ مِنْ قَصْدِهِ التَّكْثِيرَ بِكَثْرَةِ الْمُشْتَغِلِينَ عَلَيْهِ. He says, let a person be very aware, anybody who wants to teach the Quran, let them be very, very, very careful from having their intention to be increasing the number of people who come to them. If that's the only, I want many people to come to me. I want to be the number one person, who's recognized as the best, scholar or student of knowledge or Quran reciter, or whatever the case may be. I want to be the best out of all of them. And I have to be the one who has the most number of students. This kind of stuff, the author is saying, let them be careful if that's the intention. وَالْمُخْتَلِفِينَ إِلَيْهِ. مُخْتَلِفِينَ إِلَيْهِ is referring to people who turn away from others and come to them. وَلْيَحْذَرْ مِنْ كَرَاهِيَةِ قِرَاءَةِ أَصْحَابِهِ عَلَى غَيْرِهِ مِمَّنْ يُنْتَفَعُ بِهِ. He says, the author, and let them be very careful also of disliking the fact that some of the students that they have might go to someone else also. This is really deep psychological stuff. I mean, sometimes people can feel it, and sometimes it can be exacerbated by many of our insecurities. So a person may, what's wrong with me? Have I not been teaching this person for so long? Why do they feel the desire to go to somebody else? So any person who wants to become a teacher, and it's not just for Quran, this is anything, when it comes to any type of knowledge, a person shouldn't be offended simply because of the fact that somebody that they took care of or they taught a lot to might desire to go to somebody else. That's just part of that's fine. And aslan, and the whole point is that we're supposed to be sincere. So why do we care? So long as they're getting the education that they need, whether it comes from us or anybody else, it shouldn't really matter. The author then he says, وَهَذِهِ مُصِيبَةٌ. And he says, this is a big problem. يُبْتَلَى بِهِ بَعْضُ الْمُعَلِّمِينَ الْجَاهِلِينَ. He says, this is a big tribulation and a problem and a catastrophe that has struck, or that has played out with many or some of the teachers who are ignorant. And then he says, وَهِيَ دَلَالَةٌ بَيِّنَةٌ مِنْ صَاحِبِهَا عَلَى سُوءِ نِيَّتِهِ وَفَسَادِ طَوِيَّتِهِ. He says, and this is a clear indication that this person does not have a good intention. It shows that this person has a corrupt intention and a corrupt inward reality. And then he says, Imam al-Nawawi, بل rather هي حجة قاطعة على عدم إرادته بتعليمه وجه الله تعالى الكريم. He says, but what it does show clearly without any ambiguity is that this person does not have an intention or did not have an intention. In virtue or in relation to their teaching, they did not intend there with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's countenance and his generous and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala generous innate being. فإنه لو أراد الله تعالى بتعليمه, because if the author, he says, because if he truly or she truly did desire Allah's countenance and his favor by teaching, لما كره ذلك, they would not have disliked this fact or this issue. Meaning you have somebody and they want to go to somebody else. Then he would, بل قال لنفسه, Imam Nawawi says, rather they would say to themselves, أنا أردت الطاعة بتعليمه. All I wanted was to do an act or carry out an act of obedience to Allah by educating this person. And it's happened and I did what I intended. وهو قصد بقراءته على غير زيادة علم. And this person intended there with their qira'ah or their learning or their education, when they went to somebody else, they wanted to increase their knowledge. And that's what happened, and that should have been the motive in the first place. فَلَا عَتَبَ عَلَيْهِ, so there's no blame on this student for doing that. Very interesting choice of words by Imam Nawawi in this section. And really the reason why that is because it kind of shows us sometimes our deeper, it kind of opens a gateway, it kind of like opens a way in which we could kind of inspect. And the way he's written it down is so precise that we can kind of understand exactly what he's speaking about. And it's really a reality. It really is a reality. So it's something that needs working on. So ultimately, why are we doing anything? It kind of gives us, and it kind of we always need to go back to the point of why we're doing anything. For what reason are we doing anything? If it's not for the sake of Allah, then why are we doing it? So we need to always be very, very careful. And inshallah, in that we conclude, because in the next portion, he's going to be mentioning some of the statements or some of the traditions that give credence to what the author is saying. But inshallah, we'll mention that in the next segment. Jazakumullah khair for joining us once again. Barakallahu fikum. Assalamu